Yeah, that is a good question, because you spent so much time playing against the top 6 in NA, and then playing against the best in Europe. The first time you come back and play your previous region, like, do you play down to the competition? Do you throw all of the practice you've had out the window? If that is the case for Complexity, that says a lot of negative about kind of their composure and their resolve, because the last thing you want to do is have a series that you probably should win and give up all of the tendencies you've learned playing against the world's best. I mean, that's just not good.
Well, eRa and Complexity facing off on the pitch. They're down in the Swiss Abyss. Best of 5 as they try their way towards the playoffs.
It's going to be a fun one, Leaf. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Really, if you're a fan of Complexity, you're looking for RazeBull to kind of lead the charge in this one. If he can get going early, it's going to be a very, very fast series. Complexity are great when it comes to scoring multiple goals in the early stages. When you're talking about kind of the first half of any game, they like to put 2, 3 on the board at times, and then they can starve out on defense. But the defense for eRa was very impressive yesterday. They just couldn't facilitate on the opposite end. That's going to be the question mark for them in this series.
I love it. Right off the bat, we're seeing the mechanics showcased, the wall dashes, chain dashes, to keep that speed going. That's what we expect out of this region. Complexity is going to open up with that first goal.
And this is the facilitation that just make Complexity a dangerous threat for any region. It's RazeBull who gives a pass to Shad, and he takes it from the midfield. He just self-serves it off the backboard, and that's what Complexity do quite well. Everybody is capable in that offensive third of getting the job done. They already get a goal on the board, still plenty of time, but eRa are going to have to meet the challenge against Complexity time and time again.
That's what you said. You want to see RazeBull on that offense, setting everything up. There he is again on the defense, shutting everything down from eRa. They're taking those pot shots right now. You see the wide rotation. They're ready to clean up that ball if it gets cleared to the corners as much as possible. And they do have Complexity on the back heel right now. They just haven't been able to break that back line.
That's credit to eRa's pressure early on. They've done a very nice job of controlling the midfield, even though the boost still being grabbed by Complexity, so resources are here for them. But playing these constant power advantages, playing 3v2s, 3v1s upfield, the quickness in eRa's transition game was a highlight yesterday, but when it came down to kind of closing on the goal line and spreading defenders out, that is where they struggled. So far, though, put a couple of shots towards the net, and with continued pressure and boost starves, that's where things might open up, but it's already back across the other way as RazeBull with the double tap makes that one threatening. Unfortunately, he will not find the back of the net.
This is good, though. Complexity's looking like they're feeling their mechanics, although they almost created an opening, and they did. No boost at the end there. Last defender was unable to control the ball. Shad needed that cleared to the side, and he couldn't get it out.
Yeah, that's a hard one to read. I mean, maybe you try to play it off the backboard or try to bring it up to the ceiling if you have enough boost, but who knows at that point. Complexity, unfortunately, couldn't survive on the defensive end, but credit to eRa for getting upfield and taking advantage of that opportunity. There weren't many yesterday, but for today and going forward, those are the types of goals you have to win, and so far they do it, and they tie up the game.
At the halfway mark now, and that's... Hey, what did I ask for?
What did you say, Lee?
There's one of them.
That's just so well played for Math. Individually off the sidewall, AJG got completely bamboozled, and welcome to the Sam region.
Yep.
That is a nice little throwback to years past.
Not for Complexity. They're gonna look at that and say, let's not do that again, guys. And we hope they never see that. We're here to see the best of the best showcase the best, but we know a lot of nerves get on play. We know the environment's different. There's more distractions in a LAN environment. And that shot was kept just wide. It's not going to be kept out, though. Complexity will bring it back.
We're probably going to be trading these kinds of looks for the majority of this series. I mean, that's just a great setup, but the defense kind of gets caught lacking. And for both these teams, this is their really first big challenge on LAN. For a lot of teams in this event, this is their first time seeing this kind of action in like 2+ years. And Leaf, as someone who's, been at the forefront of the competition for so long, who's seen hundreds, if not thousands, of different unique matchups. What is it about LAN that just makes things that much different, for whether it's the look and RLCS X or whether it's Math scoring that third goal? What is it about this tournament that changes teams?
I mean, it's the expectations. People are watching you. The eyes are on. Sometimes you want to showcase stuff like this. You want to get those sick plays like we just saw. And sometimes you're not ready for those. You hesitate. You think, okay, if I miss this, how many more eyes are on me? How many people are watching? Am I letting my team down at LAN? And that little bit of thought in the back of your mind, that sliver, can start to make you slow down. So I really do feel like it's the players' own expectations of how they should be performing that sometimes get in their own way.
Speaking of not getting in your way, well done, eRa. It's a 3-2 lead.
Yeah.
They recover quite nicely. There were some defensive mistakes, but on the counterattacks, they've looked good. Oh, okay.
What a save.
Either that's a 500 IQ play from AJG, or it's a dangerous counterattack down the field where eRa can take advantage. But with under a minute to go, it's a lead for eRa. How long will it last? A couple of these interconnected passes that have been cut off quickly, and now you try to turtle up on defense and get back to midfield.
Honestly, I'm very impressed with eRa. They've been doing a great job of shutting down a lot of these passing plays. We see Complexity looking for those low passing plays, going fast. Was that a bump? Who got him? Off the backboard. Brilliant. To get physical is RazeBull that's opening up that scoring chance.
Slightest touch. It was the slightest bump that did it. I mean, that's a great shot across, but RazeBull getting physical on the backboard, and that is one of the beauties of Complexity's offense. They can beat you in a multitude of ways, but we still have ourselves a tie game. 39 seconds to go. We could potentially see an OT in game one, but AJG wants to clean this one up from the backboard, and that's a free look at the net. Complexity get the lead right back.
Look at that. You know when he's set up, AJG nails these 10 times out of 10. It's just hoping that that defender isn't going to read that touch properly, and if they don't, that ball is in the net. And there it is. Complexity with the lead. 30 seconds left. You called maybe an OT. Complexity saying, nah. We're in this in regulation.
Complexity's seen like how many different variations of a Rocket League game at this point. The amount that they've played in North America and the amount they played against BDS yesterday. There's no situation that will phase these boys. And they might put another one on the board as RazeBull brings himself back into the goal line. But for eRa, you have one decent swing downfield, one solid transition, and you might have a chance to tie this up. But with demos and more pressure being applied, I think this one might be Complexity's.
Yeah, no, this was honestly a pretty good holdup from eRa. You know, they were doing a good job of shutting down a lot of those passing plays Complexity was looking for. But you know what happened after those plays got shut down? Complexity said, we have mechanics, let's just start using those. And they got in the way. They started going for double taps. They started going for their air dribbles. And that started changing the pace. eRa is now going to have to answer to these mechanics. They're going to have to answer to those bumps that were happening on the defensive end, the demos. They were getting overwhelmed by the end of it, and it's not a good look for eRa to game two. eRa has to watch out and shut down those solo plays very early on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing is that for Complexity, you know, if they can't beat you with the passes, if they can't beat you with their speed, there's a different dimension they can hit, which is just let's just freestyle our way past them. Let's use our mechanics to get around eRa. For eRa, it's very much been about the teamwork, which has looked good at times, but I don't know if they have that next dimension they can kind of sink into, which is credit to Complexity taking advantage of their new region. In North America, they've had to adapt their play style. They've had to get better in certain aspects, and so far it's looked good. Leaf, I mean, that's about as close of a game one, I think, as anybody expected, especially if you're an eRa fan. I mean, that was, even with the loss, again, things still looked promising. They just weren't able to close the deal.
Yeah, no, you're right. They focused, and they had the passing plays from Complexity shut down. That's great. I like this because those passing plays were fast, and we know when they connect, those shots are on target as well. The issue now, though, is they want to watch out for solo plays, and they're looking to start some of their own, too. Look at the physical plays. Started off from a flip reset. They just took Complexity's play and turned it right around on them.
And I love this aggression early on. Look at that bump on AJG and Snipe, who secures it. That's that extension from Astromic that will set up the follow-up shots. Those secondary and third opportunities, those extra chances that you get on the rebounds, that's only possible by the aggression from eRa. And already off the kickoff again, Math taking towards the backboard and still puts that one on target. So early on, eRa just wiping away game one, and, well, Shad wipes away the lead for eRa. It's now tied up.
Look at that placement. That was beautiful, just tucked away in the bottom corner. There is no stopping that. Shad ready for that fast pass, bangs one home. We got a tie game, but I'm watching up for eRa. They're going for those high-flying plays too, the physical plays. Complexity definitely aware that eRa stepped it up for game 2.
It's almost scary how quickly Complexity can just score right back and tie up the game. Can eRa respond to that kind of pressure very quickly? So far, they had no hesitations off the kickoff. And speaking of, as Math clears it from the sidewall and will send it towards the backboard, I'm looking for eRa to maintain kind of that overwhelming pressure past midfield. Can they continue to boost starve and steal it away and get physical with Complexity if they can? Oh, is that an own goal? Wait a minute.
Sort of, yeah.
Wait a minute.
I think it was going in because off of this 50, I think it was targeted onto the net anyways. Yeah, it was going in anyways. Raiseball had to make a touch. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a forced own goal.
We've already seen what? How many of those have we seen so far? I think that's number 2 or number 3. We started the major. The first goal was a bit of an own goal. So, gotta love LAN.
That's the thing. This is where it comes to proof. Those the players, again, get in their own head sometimes, and sometimes you make those tiny mistakes. The nerves can kind of get to you. And little things happen, and that's what makes crazy upsets happen, is those players that can control the mentality best in this environment.
A lot of time left. From Complexity, it seems they can beat you in a variety of ways. And for eRa, it's really come down to just maintaining their positions at midfield. So often Complexity will steal the ball away and individually just play around the defense, kind of force players into like these 2v1 situations where you're burning a lot of boost to recover on the play, but you're also having to overexert yourselves to keep up with Complexity. And Snipe trying to get very aggressive early on. Astramic will take it from the corner and sends it back down. No center for the moment, but I like the pressure we're seeing. Just under 3 minutes to play.
And eRa in the lead, trying to take another shot. They're not too far ahead. We've seen it. You said it yourself, Spaceman. Complexity does a good job of taking back that lead when they find out that they have to. With 3 minutes left, they got time to do it, but you don't want to allow eRa to hold that lead for too long, because there's a possibility a single solo play can turn it around and put eRa into a 2-goal lead. So best to answer as soon as possible.
Yeah, and we've traded possession of this ball a couple of times in the past minute. It's really just been, you know, winding up from the backfield. Someone will overextend like AJG, try to set up for a teammate. Shad comes in right off the cross, and Raiseball will get that one easily. So that's a good read from Complexity, right? Like putting pressure into the opposite corner. AJG gets that second touch, and Shad can immediately come in. Eventually will win the 50, and that kind of setup is only possible because of AJG moving the ball upfield. So you're seeing a lot of commitment in those extra opportunities, those offensive rebounds, and it's worked out for Complexity so far.
All tied up. Right after we talk about Complexity being able to tie it up, and they're looking to take the lead. That's an opening. Shad takes the shot, bar down on the line, and it's inches from going in, but there's no finish and no lead for Complexity. eRa somehow hanging on there.
That ball was like 99.9% in. I don't know how that isn't a goal, and that is tough. If you're in those Complexity comms, you have to immediately regain and just move on. You have to move to the next play, because that is so frustrating when that could have been a lead in a 2-0 series lead if you hold on for the rest of the time. But man, it seems like that kind of shot happens so often. It's happened more frequently in this season. But for it to come to fruition on LAN, you got to be careful in the overextension, and that is what the third or fourth open net we've seen so far in this series.
I hate to see it happen. Shad pushed up. Maybe, I don't know. Shad should not have been pushed up. That it's something we called, though. We asked how many times we're going to see it, and we're slowly getting our answer as it goes on, and it's multiple. It's not a singular time.
No, it's happened so often. It's almost like you guaranteed a goal at least per game of that alone. Raiseball from the backboard, double tap. It looks good. It's on target. No one saves it from eRa. Finally, Snipe will keep this at a 3-2 game. And if you're eRa, turtling is great, but the last thing you want to do is give Complexity a full minute to control this ball and pull your defenders out of the goal line.
Final minute of gameplay now, and eRa takes the lead again. We've seen Complexity answer back when they need to, and they are threatening right now. You see little pokes at the defense. They're trying to find their way in. They're trying to make eRa realize we're still here. We're still on your tail. You can't give up yet because we will punish you for it. 40 seconds for Complexity. They're looking. They're sharking. Trying to find that opening. Shad looks for it high, and it's not open. 30 seconds. If they want match point, they'll need to get this goal and bring it into overtime. But eRa is holding on for dear life to that lead. And they bought themselves a lot of time by making their way to Complexity's end. And they extend that lead, telling Complexity to try again.
Man, this is so beautiful from Snipes. I mean, Astromik, who gives it back on the back pass, but just flips it right over and maintains his position. Doesn't fall off from the play and go try to grab boost. There's not a lot of time on the clock, but the consistent pressure from eRa, the commitment to the play is what has kept them in front. It's 4-2. Still a chance for Complexity, but as time dwindles away, that's a great response game from eRa. They desperately needed just a win to tie up the series, but also for confidence sake to go against someone like Complexity.
And there it is. 2-goal lead, 0 seconds left. Even if they get one, that's it. eRa ties up the series 1-1 against Complexity. Complexity looking like they may have had a chance at the end there to grab themselves the match point. Will not succeed in that attempt. And this matchup gets a little bit longer as both teams familiar with the play, familiar with the tendencies. Complexity, though, a couple times down. We've seen those open nets be downfall or almost be the downfall. They haven't scored on by them, and that's something that needs to be avoided. They're falling into the lure, the trap, you know, the charm of the South American way to just be as aggressive and mechanical as possible.
Yeah, both teams have been struggling with some of their overcommits at midfield. But one thing that has been consistent for eRa is the commitment to pressuring Complexity on the goal line, the commitment to getting all three up. And when Complexity do something well, which was setting up AJG and letting Shad and AJG kind of pass to one another, and Razebull can just kind of circle at midfield, eRa doing the same thing. They're more than happy to bring the ball through the corner and try to play that style. So I'm very impressed with eRa's ability to replicate what Complexity do well, but also take notes mid-game, make adjustments, and continue to put pressure on Complexity to make a play. Because that last minute or minute 30, Leaf, was really eRa controlling the clock, but also just controlling possession and not really giving Complexity much to work with.
Well, game 3, Complexity is definitely going to have to make sure that they play the strong game they've played without giving away those open net goals. There's a shot to the net, hard clear from eRa as they take some early pressure from Complexity, but try to find some of their own with some demos. They're looking to make sure they don't get stuck in their own half.
We saw an opening goal in game number 2. It was eRa who just dominated from the opening 30 seconds to the final minute. Complexity already pressuring, and Razebull on the self setup. It wasn't a great clear from eRa, and once more a lead change here as Complexity will find the opening goal in game 3.
There it is. Great placement. We've seen that all the time from Complexity. Their placement has been key. Even again, those bar down skis we've been talking about, that one that was just almost in, it was held out by a hair's width. But that placement is key because that is so hard to save if that does bounce in. You just have to have that follow-up, and that placement there was also key. Early goal, but eRa is looking for one of their own. That's a chance off the backboard. Quick response from Razebull to keep it away.
Shad to the backboard will deny the double tap from eRa as Math gets his hand up in front, and Snipes will clear it back out to midfield. And for Complexity, we've seen Shad and AJG have a strong series so far. Razebull's been facilitating, and he's been able to clean up a couple of goals, but once he starts to pop off, things get very dangerous for eRa. However, it's been a team effort on their side. Unfortunately, for the moment, they have just not been able to clear this away. Shad 1v2ing, and here comes AJG, possibly for a self-center. Double tap from the backboard, and unfortunately, it will not fall in. Still a 1-goal lead, and plenty of time for Complexity as they spiral their way down. This one's dangerous and saved yet again. eRa doing a very nice job of clearing this ball off the backboard. However, they whiff there, but very impressed with the turtle up defense.
Another minute passed by. No answer from eRa. They're moving quick. They're moving fast, but Complexity is moving just a little bit faster right now. A lot of challenges high in the air. You see the high-flying contests as they look to break apart the defense. We see AJG forced into a quick save there, bumped around like a pinball. But eRa still can't find an opening on that Complexity defense.
This is what they're going to have to continue to do. They're going to have to keep Complexity on their back heels in the blue half. They're going to have to force them to play from their defensive third and kind of play for back corner boosts where eRa can circle back to midfield, steal those resources, and try again and just keep that pressure on. Finally, AJG escapes out, and he will keep Complexity up in the offensive side, but we'll see what eRa can do. Looking for that double tap before it's stealed away. Nice little bump in net. Might open things up. Shad yet again with the save. Snipe can't get it. AJG comes in for the cleanup. Complexity on this isolated 1v1s. They've been so good, and they've been winning these huge 50s to keep the ball away.
Another minute gone by, and no answer from eRa yet. Complexity looking for another goal, but they just have to hold on to this 1-goal lead. That'll grab a match point. Chance here. It gets taken away by eRa. Back to midfield, but look at that midfield control. Ooh. Great pass, shot on net. Taken away, AJG with a follow-up, all three from eRa. Stop that one out. No. Good touch there from RazeBull, and that'll be a chance for eRa to push out. I don't know how they held on there. All three players panicking. That might be a chance as eRa pushes for a counterattack of their own. That touch high from Math, and that'll be a no-go for eRa. Complexity will find themselves situated on defense.
That's the scariest thing about Complexity is they can just pull up from midfield, from the sidewall, and just throw something dangerous at the net. Yep. They have so many different opportunities, and I love this aggression from eRa. In the final minute, they desperately need a goal if they want to tie up this game. As Astramic looks for Snipes on the cross, but he will not get there. RazeBull with a great challenge, and Shad circling dangerously. We know that he's going to try to find that, and if he can't reel it in, he'll just throw it back towards the net where potentially Complexity could follow up for another shot. So what we saw eRa do at the end of Game 2 leave. Now Complexity is doing the same thing.
25 seconds left, though. eRa's still looking for that answer. No matter what they're doing, there's no goal to show for it. And I miss there from Math, and that is going to be a dead chance from eRa. Complexity just has 3 seconds to pull off, and they need to kill this ball. Otherwise, eRa has another chance. Shad keeps it alive. He brings it high. And that ball slowly floating to the ground will give Complexity the win and give Complexity the match point.
Very reminiscent of yesterday for eRa, right? Like they're able to tie up the series, things look promising, and then all of a sudden, one game after another, one possession after another, it just seems like the offense can't execute. They can't get that opening look they have been hunting for. And while it looked promising in the latter half of that game, right? We're keeping a lot of pressure on Complexity. It was Complexity who said, okay, if you're going to challenge us at midfield, we're going to start pulling up and just taking shots from midfield. And they can absolutely do that because what's scary is their accuracy has been so good in this series, Leaf. They have been very, very keen on looking towards the lower post. They've been very good at playing off the backboard. And so far, Complexity just looked very comfortable. We were wondering, right, how are they going to play going against their former region? It seems that they've adjusted pretty nicely in this series.
Yeah, we both having Complexity as the winning team here, but eRa has definitely shown that they've been putting a lot of work on their own. They know what answers here and there that they need against Complexity. Hasn't been quite enough as they are facing down a potential loss in this matchup, but they've been looking good. They've been looking fast. They've just not been able to sustain a lot of offense. They get some good shots here and there, but that offense is not long-lived. Complexity is doing such a fantastic job of holding down that midfield. So many times you mentioned it too, how well they're coming off that sidewall and just putting a shot on net. And that's so hard for eRa to just break away from.
And that's that like tendency that the Complexity have had to learn over time when playing against, really, unfortunately for them, the top 6 in North America consistently. They've had to learn how to just create offense out of nothing, or when they can't find each other on the infield, when they can't create those passing lanes, they've had to get creative on the sidewall. They've had to get creative in the air, so they can hit that next dimension. And for eRa, so far, what's kept them in this series is that aggression. They've been able to win their 50s. They've been able to boost starve, and they're doing it here. Oh, a pull shot that almost lands. But unfortunately for eRa, again, even with the most creative they've had so far, it just won't lead to an opening goal.
Both teams looking for the 1-1 record in the Swiss. Complexity close to it now at match point. In Game 4, eRa is looking to bring this to the distance. Complexity looking to finish this off and say, there's a reason why we were the best. There's a reason why we still are. eRa showing that gap is closing, though. Complexity trying to break their way out of their own end as eRa has a strong early attack. I talked about not a lot of sustained offense. Well, they had a little bit there, so it's a good start to Game 4.
Well, this is where they lost to NRG yesterday in their first series, and if they can turn things around, of course, mathematically, we will be going to Champions Field, and I know that eRa just wants one crack at that scenario. Maybe things would lead differently if they're able to get there, but they're going to have to take down Shad, who, from midfield with very little boost, was still able to get that one towards the upper post. And now we're moving towards this lateral style of gameplay for Complexity, where they spread defenders out, they play these one-on-ones, and they can freestyle their way over anybody. That's what makes them such a dangerous team. But eRa's done a nice job of just kind of sitting patiently, letting all of Complexity get to where they want to be on the field, and then meeting the challenge, getting the ball away, and moving back in transition.
Halfway through Game 4, and we progressively see these score lines get lower and lower as we go on, as the teams figure each other out. Shad is going to have control. He'll have AJG with him as well. Razebull will hold the back line. Shad says, I'm going solo. Doesn't need AJG until they make their way down to the other end. That's a chance that rolls up high. And Complexity finds no goal. eRa with the breakout chance. Math, a strange touch there. Doesn't make it back to himself nor his teammate. And that attack will die out very quickly.
In this situation, other than eRa just trying to maintain some presence at midfield and keep Complexity from doing what they're doing now, which is just letting AJG or Shad or Razebull take the ball up to the ceiling and really, push something towards the backboard, looking for a double tap, looking for a center. What are you seeing out of eRa Leaf that they can kind of execute on it and potentially take the opening goal here?
In all honesty, their physical play is what's opened it up for them. They've been doing a good job getting on offense, but they can't stay there because Complexity gets enough boost that they get out. They have enough space, so get in their face and bump them. I would love to see eRa on the rotation through. Get a bump. Open up that scoring lane because they're getting shots. They're getting pressure. It's just not sustained chance. Complexity can't find the opening, and that does stay out. Almost the opening goal for Complexity with a minute remaining in Game 4.
Yeah, we've seen the physicality in the start of this series. We saw it in Game 1 and in Game 2, where eRa and Complexity were looking very good at bumping players off of the goal line, right? Following up on an extra touch and making the shot a little bit easier to connect with. Under a minute to go. Haven't seen any demos as of late.
Man, the tension starts to grow now as Complexity, sitting on match point, needs one goal to grab themselves a dub against eRa. eRa is looking to find a fifth game, and Shad is gonna say, that ain't gonna happen. Good passing plays from Complexity, and it finally breaks through that eRa defense.
And that's that pass. It was a missed 50 by eRa, and they just fly past the ball, and there's always someone there from Complexity. What is one of the one keys that Complexity did quite well in this series? They always had someone in and around midfield to circle back into the play. They do it there again. Still plenty of time, though, for eRa, and that one hangs very dangerously. Shad has to come up and meet the challenge, so there's no one back in goal. Finally, there's a demo for Complexity to make this a power play, but it was looking very rough for a while. But Complexity's resolve in that offensive third and always having someone in position is what leads to this opening goal, and potentially could be the only one they need. There's a demo, and 5 seconds to go. eRa need to get downfield.
They have one more chance. They're going to be in the air. Math is up. He gets a soft touch. That's going to be clear for AJG to put that one down. Astronomic keeps it alive, and Complexity will punish the touch. eRa gets no second chance at 0 seconds, and Complexity will finish off the series 3-1 against eRa Eternity.
Man, Champions Field is not coming in this event for eRa. They just can't get there.